How would you describe your talk in a sentence or two?
I would describe my talk as a nice merge of realistic and optimistic. So I'm like, my aim really is to try and get us thinking a bit more. I say utopian in the talk, and I think it is a bit utopian. And realizing that we as leaders in support in customer support spaces, we as leaders within the organizations that we're part of, have an opportunity to create the future. And that's not. It sounds quite grand, but actually that is what we do. If you're a support organization leader, you can decide the KPIs that you want to meet. You can decide the structure of your teams. You can decide the job requirements. You can decide the responsibilities for your teammates. All of that is basically saying, oh, I get to decide the future. I get to design the future. And so if I'm going to sum it up, it's okay, let's be more utopian. We don't have to accept a lot of the dystopian ideas come along with how we're seeing companies operate when they bring AI into the fold, or even some of the AI companies themselves, the ideas that they're espousing. So that's what I want people to come away from, is a bit more utopian thinking, a bit more bit more dreaming.
And is there any particular experience that pushes you towards redesigning the support roles? Any moments in your career?
Any moments in my career? I think a lot of it is very naturally. A lot. There's been a lot of paths converging that leads to a really interesting. This being quite an interesting moment for us all. I've created a company before, so I think I feel that sort of high level of ownership and responsibility for something. But I've also been part of a larger, not a larger company. I've been part of a company for a long time. I've worked multiple places, but there's one, Expensify in particular. One of the things that was quite prominent was this idea that people could affect the teams that they were on and could redesign them and could relaunch them. And so I think it's that sort of experience both in building something for myself, but also being part of and leading parts of an organization that were very flexible and very amenable to change really brings me to the moment where I'm like, oh, hang on, this is our opportunity as well. And we can decide the future that we're bringing with these teams. And maybe there might be a little bit of fear in there, which as well, which is, okay, if we don't decide, if we're not the ones who are making the choices about what we want customer support to look like as a profession in 5 years, then someone else is going to decide it. And it's someone else who doesn't understand the value for customers of customer support and for an organization of customer support. So I think that's why it feels so important to talk through, is that it's not just, oh, we should have different roles on our teams. It's saying this is a valuable skill set and people can underestimate the impact of a great support experience and of a great support organization.
That makes sense. And again, taking back the power from the AI companies who might be redefining what we need to be defining. I know one of parts of your talk is about AI relocating responsibility. Can you maybe give an example of what that means?
So I think I gave a talk about at some point last year where I was saying I think that AI can really improve the leverage for teams, but in a lot of ways it doesn't automatically do that, and it doesn't automatically free up people. And actually what it does in a lot of cases is it just pushes a lot of responsibility onto a support team. One of the challenges of AI, actually even before that, one of the challenges of being in a support team is a lot of the time you end up as the fallback position for everything else going wrong. And we all know this. If you're in customer support, no matter where you are in that customer support organization, you know that if something goes wrong in a marketing sense, very often the support team feels the brunt of it. Something goes on wrong from a product perspective. If a product management decision happens and it doesn't align with what customers' expectations were, that will hit the customer support team first before it ever touches any other part of the organization. The website goes down, customer support hears about it. So all of these different things happen, and it's the customer support really that feels the brunt of it. And I think in a lot of ways, that's the risk. That's a risk if we don't manage the transition for other teams through AI as well, through introducing AI as well. Because what it can do is rapidly speed up the rate at which new features are released, for example. But that's not just that happens and it's magic and it's just, okay, the feature's there. There's also as we all know, there's also product marketing communications, there's customer communications, there's internal communications, there's retraining your team, there's documenting everything correctly, and now documenting everything correctly over 3 different audiences for AI, for your support team itself, and for your customers as well. And so all of this means that, okay, by default, what happened before will happen again, which is everything just ends up with the customer support team getting the brunt of that work. And so we actually do have an opportunity, though, and say, okay, how do we create it? How do we make it so that the default position is a new feature comes to support with everything that support needs, rather than support being the ones who have to ask the questions? And I think as well as speeding up that rate of change, you can relocate the responsibility for it as well and say, okay, the person who's responsible for documenting a new feature change doesn't actually have to be necessarily someone for your support team. If you're like a 1 or 2 person support team, then you probably don't have the space to just add that on to your day job when suddenly you're doing like 30 product changes a month instead of 3. But the product manager is the person who's closest to it. And so if you give them the tools, if they develop the tools to write really well for those 3 audiences, for example, then great. That's a good way of relocating responsibility without it just being the fallback to the support team instead.
That's a very comprehensive answer. And I know you mentioned it before, but maybe to wrap it up and have a conclusion. What's one takeaway that you would like your audience to live with during this talk?
What I would like, I think if there's just a single slide in my slide deck that people look at and take away, it is the moment when I ask, this is the question that you should be bringing back. It's what is the support organization that we want to build? Because we are in a generational moment. This is the opportunity. It's right now. And if you're not deciding, someone else decides. And if you're not deciding, you're kind of abdicating a bit of responsibility, abdicating all of that to someone else to decide. And if you're a support leader, this is an incredible opportunity to decide what you want work to look like for your whole support organization for the next 5 years, 10 years. And so if there's one thing, it's that question: what do you want work to look like for your team for the next 5 years? And then do something about it.